So thank you so much both for taking the time. Like I know that's your only evening in New York. Thank you so much for taking the time here like with us. Before we kick off like today's Fireside Chat, I would love to ask you a few questions. So Mr. Chong first, like would you please tell us like what exactly a producer does like in the Hong Kong film industry?
I love work. And a producer should manage and oversee various aspects of the film production, from its initial shaping to distribution, including project development, financing, and budgeting, hiring the crew and the team, and production management, creative decision making, post-production and distribution and promotion. And they should also take care of the financial and legal affairs.
That's definitely a lot. I feel like I work in advertising. Like I feel like that is very much a project manager, also a account manager. Like you have to, because you have to deal with a lot of people, and also like you're following a project or film from the start to the end.
Yes, I would say it's like if a film is a company, a producer is like a CEO of the company.
Cool, yeah. Great. Thanks for that. And so Philip, like we all know you from like your roles in like action-packed movies and dramas, but we are also aware that you are a action choreographer and martial artist. Like, can you tell us more about like all these diverse roles?
I think when you're making a movie, it's not just a one-person thing. I think it's every department is very important, and understanding how to maybe choreograph and work behind the scenes also helps me in front of the camera. I started off as a stuntman in the industry, and I eventually upgraded to being an assistant choreographer to action director. But during that time, I acted as well. I think it's just two sides of the same coin. I think when you're an actor by yourself, you're more like the brush for the artist. But when you're directing or when you're creating the scene, then you're more the person holding the brush. And I get to be both, so it's great.
Love that metaphor. Like there are so many different paths like in filmmaking, right? Like so, like for Mr. Chong, like what led you to become a producer, a screenwriter, and for Philip, like to become like to pursue like acting and also action choreography.
I think it is a long story. I try to make it short, and I believe because a film, Taxi Driver, by Martin Scorsese in his early days, and I like the film very much, and it sparked my interest in filmmaking. And after graduating from college, I have to contemplate what kind of career I have to pursue. And I had an idea, and I thought it's fun to be a filmmaker. As a stepping stone, I joined the TV industry. I worked at TVB as a researcher for 2 years. Following that, I became a copywriter at a movie advertising agent, and this brought me a step closer to the film industry. During this period, I met Ringo Lam, the director of City on Fire and Prison on Fire. He encouraged me to pursue a scriptwriter career, and I started writing script and also came up with lyrics. And it's very strange. My name first put on the big screen is as a lyric writer of the film song of the Prison on Fire. After that, 1995, I co-founded a media agency group with my partners and embarked on my producing career.
That's great. Thank you so much, like for all the works like in the past 40 years, like, to writing on all those like screens, and also like bringing like that many good Hong Kong films like to all of our Hong Kong friends out there. Great. How about for you, Philip? Can you tell us more why martial action choreography, martial artist and an action actor?
It's very simple. I grew up in the States, right? And then I think culturally speaking, to find my own kind of, be proud of my own cultural heritage, I think one of the big things was Kung Fu movies, right? Because no matter what race you were, when you saw Jackie Chan, you're like, oh my God, that's so cool. So I wanted to be part of that world, right? And also my father teaches martial arts. I grew up in a martial arts household doing martial arts. And I think every martial artist has, in fact, at a point in their life, had a fantasy of being in a Kung Fu movie. And I was no different. So when I was growing up, my heroes were stuntmen. You know, you watch them in movies. How do you fall from a third story onto your face, but you survive? I mean, they're like superheroes to me. Yeah. So I was very interested in that industry. And so as soon as I graduated from college, I decided to go back. I spent a year working in the States, and then I decided to go back to Hong Kong because, you know, I was born in Hong Kong, and then went back to Hong Kong to try to pursue this industry. And you know, pursuing any industry is very difficult, especially entertainment industry. How do you get in the door, right? You know, so I started off as a stuntman, got introduced to a stunt crew, and worked in that crew for a couple of years for Qinggaban, and then went on to do my own choreography in different places, maybe Malaysia, Philippines, and then that was my training ground. And then went back to Hong Kong, got signed to WalledIn, a very prolific filmmaker in Hong Kong, and then worked with him for 10 years. And right now I have my own production workshop, starting to do my own productions and everything, and hopefully create more like mid-budget action movies. I mean, in light of Twilight of the Warriors, WalledIn, such a success, you know, hopefully that brings back the Kung Fu trend, like back in the 80s and 90s, and hopefully I can be part of that.
Yeah, I'm sure we're all very looking forward to all the new films that you're producing. I have to say that I'm not sure if any of you have watched Long Fu Mo Si. It's a movie in Hong Kong called Hong Kong Stuntman. I was so admired. All those stuntmen, they are so amazing because they can literally jump out of the building from 8th floor and then survive on the floor. I'm like, wow, how could that happen? That's
a lot of trial and error.
Definitely. Speaking of the global hit, the Warrior of the the Twilight of the Warriors WalledIn, how many of us were at the New York North American premiere last night of the WalledIn?
At least 3 of you.
Last night.
Or maybe you have watched it before in Hong Kong or yeah. I have to say that was really good. Oh my God. Some of my friends I haven't seen them going to movie often, to be honest, but they also asked me to, can you help me to buy a ticket for that movie? So you can see that popularity is definitely growing over there. But in terms of the movie, right, Mr. Chong, I know that in one of your previous interviews, you mentioned that as a good producer, you know when to produce what movie. So can you tell us more about your business decisions about producing WalledIn right now and making that such a hit right now?
Yes, I said it before, but I think we always have a plan, but something is unpredictable. Like this film, actually we delayed the schedule because of the pandemic, and we should have this film released at least a year before ago. I mean, and so. Your question is how can I make it to release this year?
Yeah,
the
good perfect timing. Yes.
Our original plan is a year ago released that. So I don't know why, but you can't predict something. In my experience, I feel that some film you can predict the result or the outcome more or less, and but a big hit film you can't.
quoting like from Philip last night, like he was saying like he thought himself like was filming a Korean idol drama instead of a kung fu film, right?
Yeah, because I signed on, you know, I was like, oh, this is a kung fu movie. I made dozens of these before, you know. I was like, okay, you know, I thought I knew what to expect, but just the reaction in Hong Kong and Asia in general, it's crazy. I mean, I feel like I'm in a boy band.
Yeah. Even in New York, right? Not only in Asia, I feel like we are all crazy about like the film, right? Can I hear something? That's great.
Okay, for that one person. Okay, thank you.
Especially it's William, right?
Yes.
The people love him.
Yes.
I don't think why.
Yeah, it's strange, you know. I mean, usually play an antagonist. You know, you finish the movie, everyone, oh, you did a good job, and but it's, yeah. I mean, like Mr. Chong said last night, you know, this movie really helped a lot of the actors that were in it, and everyone that was involved got really good results from this movie. So. Yeah, I mean that's in part because everyone watched the movie and loved it. So
yeah, since we're talking about this, like I want to jump to the next questions. Like for Philip, like the cast of the WalledIn, right, including yourself, definitely played a significant role in its success. Like, can you share more about like experience like with casting, filming, and seeing the movies like popularity grow? And like, how did you feel about this whole journey?
You know, you don't think about it when you're filming. You know, you try the best you can, and you know, because we all made many movies before. A lot of things you can't predict, but you only do what you can at the moment to make it the best it can be, right? So, at first was Soy, the director. One of his people called me and said, "Oh, he wants to meet with you about a project," and I didn't know what it was. I met with him a couple times. He didn't really offer me a role yet. He just said he wants to talk to me, and all I knew was he was about to produce a movie, create a movie that had to do with Kowloon City, and it's a Hong Kong kung fu movie. He wants Hong Kong action actors, and so that's all I knew. And then, but the third time he called me in, he offered me the role of King, the role that I played in the movie. And I remember the first thing he said to me was, "Is this an antagonist?" And also, but you know, you've been making movies for 20 years. People know who Philip is. So, but when you make this movie, people are not going to recognize you. That's my plan. And since I was a big fan of his, and I like the way how he handles characters and everything, and I was really looking forward to how he would make me unrecognizable. And he did it. And then I remember on the set, on the first few days, I had my full makeup on, full costume on, and I see a lot of people that I know. Yeah. And I would wave to them. I'm like, "Yo, hey, how you doing?" And they would ignore me. I'm like, "It's me, Phil." You know? But yeah, it was successful. So the costuming, and which also helped because, you know, without that baggage of people recognizing who I am, I felt like I was more free to be able to create this character and to become the way that it is now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like, we're talking about like the poster that we got from New York Asian Film Festival. People are saying, "Oh, wow, this is Philip. Look at him." Yeah, definitely. Like the costume design, like they make a great job on that. And going back to Mr. Chong, like in fact, like the WalledIn, like with its impressive $39 million budget, like WalledIn is one of the most expensive Hong Kong productions of all times. Like, how did you convince like the investors, especially during a time that when such a high cost production is not usual?
Yes. Since our prime period didn't work well, the investors tried to find some ways out, and they're willing to try something new, I think. And my fellow producer Angus Chan did a lot of most of the financing work for us, and he introduced a Chinese company called Lin Ray, which has been very successful in distribution in China. And I think, like Philip said, it bet on our director, Shui Chang, and because Shui Chang has been very popular in the past few years, and the rest of the investors, I think they're attracted by our producer team. Angus Chan is the most prolific producer in Hong Kong, and another my fellow producer Philip, Wilson Lip, is the director of Yip Man Saga, also bankable filmmaker. And myself, I think I have, I may have remind them the success of Inferno Affairs.
Definitely, that's like one of the all-time favorite movies, like for the Hong Kong film industry for sure. Like yeah, speaking of like the internal affairs, right? Like I would love to discuss like that series with you as a cornerstone of the Hong Kong crime movie and its Hollywood like remake, The Departed. Like as a producer of the original, like how do you feel about the remake success, and like what elements do you think that like resonate across like both Hong Kong and American like audience?
Okay, I think it's I think it's a big honor to have my film remade by Mr. Scorsese, and I'm a big fan of his, and it get many great talent together. The actors all were my favorite, and The Departed even make the Inferno Affairs popular around the world. The other day, I went to the American Embassy for Visa to America, and the officer there asked me a question about my profession. I said, I am a producer. What kind of film you produce? I said, I produced a film called Inferno Affairs, which have been remade by Mr. Scorsese. He said, oh, I know that one, Departure. I didn't correct him. And he said, Mr. Producer, you will get your visa done in a week. Yes, so I think it's amazing. Because of Mr. Scorsese, his taxi driver sparked my interest in filmmaking, and his Departed even took the Inferno Affair to a different level.
Definitely, I watched both. Like, to be honest, I love the original better, like because it's a Hong Kong movie and also it speaks Cantonese. Yeah, right. And for Philip, like I know that like we always know that like the action movies are a signature of Hong Kong films. Like with Bruce Lee being like an iconic figure. Philip, like having played Bruce Lee in the American productions Birth of the Dragon in 2016, like what differences did you notice between like working with the Hong Kong teams versus like the US teams?
I think a lot of people who's worked on both sides of the world would say, I think, first of all, the budget, the money spent is a little bit different, and I think a lot of times in Asia, because our budget's a little bit smaller, a lot of the budget gets put on screen. What you see on screen is the money gets put on screen. I think in the US, I notice a lot of times the money isn't put there. I notice like they put a lot of money in the actor's comfort. I don't have a trailer in Hong Kong, but I have a trailer in the States, and maybe the filming locations here is 3 steps away, but they'll have a car pick me up to get into my trailer. Which is great, but I think now that I'm dabbling into, not really dabbling, but then I'm actually doing production, I think it's best for me to maximize the budget. I think that's a big difference. And but there is a difference. I think another difference is when I'm working in the West. Let's just say I'm doing choreography. There's a lot of steps that I have to go through, and you have to make sure all those things that you set up are done in pre-production. Because when you get to the actual location and the actual set, actual shooting, you really can't change too much because every department has they have to know ahead of time. Whereas in Hong Kong, there's a little bit more room to make adjustments on the fly. I think maybe a middle ground between the two would be the best.
Definitely, I hear a lot about like how Hong Kong film like practitioners, they are really flexible like with their time and also.
I mean, like for instance, like when I first started in the industry, maybe about mid 20 years ago, a lot of times we choreographed the action on the set, learned the choreography, and film on that day. We don't do that anymore. But that was the norm, and now there's going to be like you rehearse ahead of time, you have everything set up, you do previs, and then you shoot. but I mean the flexibility comes from that training.
Definitely. Then a question for both of you. Like, are there any like Hollywood movies that you would like to see remade in Hong Kong, or vice versa? Like, what attracts you to these like potential projects?
Coincidentally, there were two remakes released recently in Hong Kong. One was Samuel Jackson, Kevin Spacey's The Negotiator, remade by a director called Herman. It worked well in Hong Kong, but not very good in China. And the other one is a Hong Kong film remade by a Korean director. That one called Accident, which was produced by me in 2009 with Soy Chang as director. It was show in Hong Kong, but it's quite a success in the hometown in Korea. And but I don't have the list of title to make or being remade by the other country. But I think another way to make films is get inspiration from some successful films. For example, Infernal Affair, actually the creator is Alan Mack. He gave me the concept, and he told the public that he got the inspiration from the face of the film, and then make it very unique, and you can't find any plot similar to the original. And another one is recently released the Korean TV series called Moving. It's a thematic approach or superhero approach. Got a lot of acclaim, and even took the superhero genre to another level. And that is one of the ways to get inspiration.
I haven't watched that one yet. I'm adding that to my list. Moving. How about for you, Philip?
I think, like Mr. Chong said, I think inspiration is better than remaking, perhaps, maybe. It depends on the topic, but it's very specific to the movie. I mean, something like the Infernal Affairs and Departed is easier to do because that's very universal, culturally, like it's not locked to a certain culture. But if maybe a movie like Twilight of the Warriors, I think that would be difficult to remake. Maybe for in the West, because there's a cultural significance to certain things that are hard to remake in another culture. But it depends on the movie. I mean, like I said, Infernal Affairs is a movie about cops and they're undercover. I mean, those are universal concepts. So I think it depends on the movie itself. Yeah.
Definitely. Let's know a little bit to discuss the entire Hong Kong filmmaking industry. Like you both said, I feel like mentioned movies they have the power to shape culture. For Mr. Chong, in the previous interviews, you mentioned the danger of catering to audience expectations, giving what they want. Why is it so important for filmmakers to influence the culture, and how do you balance with the audience demand?
Yeah, actually, I think the filmmakers don't intentionally set out to influence culture, pop culture. Our job is to make good films for audience, and I think at the end of the day, the people come to the cinema to be entertained, and so I think it's so important to come up with some new, cool or interesting thing to them. We couldn't be then. We can't predict what they want. For example, in the 90s last century, Taiwan is a very significant market for Hong Kong film, and some of the Taiwan distributor thought they know what the audience want. They told Hong Kong filmmaker to make a certain genre of film. For example, you have Chong and Philip always shown us with a gun in hand, and no others, and no comedy piece. And our audience don't like comedy. Oh, Stephen Chow, no, at first, and every film with Stephen Chow end up become a blockbusters there. So they didn't know one thing. Audience are ruthless, and they always accept new, cool, or interesting things.
Even like with I would say like maybe also a renewed trend as well, like the kung fu, right?
Yeah.
Like that's why like the global that's why like WalledIn is like so hit right now. People are all looking forward to have more Hong Kong kung fu movies. Like I feel like also many countries, they have like successfully explored like their cultures through movies and entertainment. Like Hong Kong cinema like definitely has made a significant contributions. Like I want to ask like both of you, like what unique aspects of Hong Kong cultures like should we highlight in our films? Like how do we or like should we challenge the cultural norms like to create even like better movies?
Me, when I make movies, it's like what Mr. Chong says, I'm here to entertain the audience. I think naturally my cultural background and my cultural influences will show through in the film because I'm part of the creative process. So I don't think I have to purposefully do something like that. And I believe why action movies or kung fu movies are so significant, and why Hong Kong movies are able to be exported to different countries is because it's a physical language. You don't need to speak that language to appreciate the action. So I think that's one of the reasons why when people talk about Hong Kong, the first thing they talk about is kung fu movies, because that's the legacy that it has since the 70s.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Like last night, like when I was at the New York Asian Film Festival, and Indian, like he was sitting next to me, he was screaming like even before me because like he was so excited about like all the actions in the movie. So that is definitely a universal like language. How about for you, Mr. Chong? Any ads on that?
Yes, I think the key is focus on crafting a compelling narrative and characters. If those elements are strong, the cultural film that influences will appear more organically, and it's very important.
Agree. So looking ahead, like given the trends like in like smaller or medium budget of Hong Kong like productions, like how do you view the future of the local film industry, and like how can like young talents improve their skills and opportunities in this like quite competitive landscape?
Some people think that we always produce some small films is no good and not productive to the industry, but I think we have to tolerate the newcomers doing some homework as practice, and I think the industry is very challenging, as we has been saying that for 2 decades, but the industry still exists to this today, right? And it's very important the persistence for the new talents, I think. Secondly, I think we have to see more movie because nowadays the audience may see more movie than filmmakers do, right? And then I think the great Japanese director Akira Kurosawa said filmmakers should read more literature. In my opinion, reading people and understanding the behavior of human are also very important.
Definitely. Any add-on for that, Philip?
I think hopefully it keeps going. Like Mr. Chong said, it still exists. I mean, as long as people have that need to tell stories, it doesn't matter the budget. I mean, they'll find a way. I mean, making movies is 50% problem solving, anyways. So I think long as there's the need for people to express themselves, for them to tell stories in different mediums, film will always be there. And hopefully, because of something like Twilight, the Warriors, we can bring back the 80s and 90s kung fu trend back.
And also, like, I think I have to ask this because, like, right now AI is the buzzword, right? So, like, what impact, like, would you, like, I would say, like, what in advancement, like in CGI and AI, like, how do you see those, like, have, like, impact on the filming industry?
I mean, CGI has been around for many years, and it is still evolving, and the advancements make the CGI more cost-effective and lowering the barrier for independent and small films, and it is a good thing. AI is comparatively new to us, and yeah, I am not the AI expert, but it's already very advanced. For example, the Sora tools, but I think it is not will not emphasize in near future. But I want to provide an example for the AI tool for creativity, creative side. There's a new type of TV series in China called super mini series, and the duration of every episode is 2 to 3 minutes only. And normally, a scriptwriter can come up with 10 to 20 episodes a day, per day. But work with AI, they can come up with 100 to 200 episodes. So you can tell what is going on. And I had tried to work with AI on a story making, and it seems I was working with a team of junior scriptwriters, and in the future, I think your creativity and your skill of using AI is equally important.
Definitely. Any add on that?
Okay, I remember your question. So, I think it's like any tool. It should be a tool set. I can't predict how advanced AI will be, because I've seen some pretty amazing things, right? Where they input like a dog on a hill, eating ice cream, and it comes up with an image like that, and it seems very convincing. But so was green screen and CGI was very convincing in the beginning, but the audience eventually gets an eye for it, and you're able to tell what is green screen and what's CGI, right? Yeah. So maybe one day when we might have an eye for CG or AI. Oh, this is AI. This is what people actually done physically. So, but it all depends on how advanced AI will become, which I cannot predict. But hopefully it remains a tool like CGI and green screen that we use along with other techniques to make movies. So that's what I hope.
Yeah, like we hear a lot like from other industry as well. Like AI will not replace people, but like AI, like people with AI skills will probably replace people like those without AI skills.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, right. My last question before like I turn the floor to our audience, like it's probably like like when movie is an art, right? It is also a business. Like as an actor and producers, like would you prefer to work on a commercially successful movie that lacks like critical acclaim, or an like award-nominated film that might not reach a broad audience? In Cantonese, we call it 叫好不叫座，定係叫好叫座不叫好. Like I feel like that's like the always like you get that questions always. But like tell us like what you think and like why you think so.
Yeah, I am an idealistic person. I want to achieve both.
You got one.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, but I seldom achieve both. But as a management of a movie company, I always want people to come up with some commercial viable project.
definitely. How about you, Philip?
It's the same. I mean, you work and you're very idealistic when you come in. You know, work. You want to get accolades. You want to get acclaim. But at the end of the day, to make another movie, you need to have a commercially successful movie before other people give you money for the next one. So, I mean, I think if you had to choose, you know, commercial success is important because there's other factors involved. But, you know, I don't want to quote the movie, but there's a movie line. You make one film that makes money. You make one film that gets acclaimed, and hopefully you get one after another. But you know, nothing ever. You can't really plan out anything. So.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Then we did collect like some questions like from the registrations. I'm not sure if you're all here now. I have like Sapir Chen. Is how do you pronounce your name? Are you here? Yeah, would you like to? We have a mic for you. You can ask your questions.
It's funny. I keep forgetting questions too.
Sure. Like from the registrations I got like. What is the most difficult part, like, to prepare and film a movie promoting Hong Kong culture? I think we have like touch on that, but like, if you have any add-on.
Yeah, as I said before, I think coming up with a good story first, and it's the most important. And then other things or cultural influences will emerge more organically.
Yeah, it's the same. I think as creatives, I mean, I think the first thing you have to do is be creative and create a story that people want to watch. And I think because the creators have a cultural background, certain cultural inclinations, it'll come out in the story organically and naturally, like Mr. Chong says.
Yeah, I have to comment like on this, like for the WalledIn, right? Like last night, it's an action-packed movie. Somehow, like after watching it, like I feel so warm in my heart.
Like a kind of a bittersweet kind of ending.
Yeah.
With the music.
Yeah, and also like with all those like gentle, subtle like instill of the Hong Kong culture, like the mahjong, like when they gather around, they decide to play mahjong instead of like doing anything else. Like when they wrapping those like candy, the fruit candy with like the clear wrap. I think all those like they are a really good touch like of the Hong Kong culture. Like I love that so much. Thank you both for that. Any other questions on the floor like that we can take for our speakers?
Toss it over there.
Hi, thank you so much for coming. I really love the movies and all the works that you guys done. I actually saw the movie at Cannes Film Festival, was the midnight premiere, and it's also I think it's really rare for like especially for Hong Kong big genre film, action film to premiere at the Cannes Film Festival, which usually more towards art house cinema. And so my question is for John Chong as producers. What's the decision behind to take this film to Cannes to premiere at Cannes?
It is not picked by us. It's by Cannes. Yeah.
My question is for the film, right? So Kowloon Wall City, I saw the set. It's really complex and elaborate. I mean, how did you create such complex replicate Kowloon Wall City? It's just so complex to build the set.
We didn't do it.
Not you guys.
Yeah, the production designer did it, and because the Kowloon City is such an iconic place, and we have a lot of material to base on, and you can find many books in the library or at the bookstore. And we actually bought some old things like the mailbox or Baba chair, and then if something we couldn't find, and the props man will do it, will make it, yeah. And yes, production designer Ken Matt is a great art director, and he did a lot of that kind of things, but this one even more outstanding.
Yeah, at first I thought like that was like CGI, but then I
part of it was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And also like I heard like the Hong Kong government, they're also thinking about like recreate the whole scene and like make it maybe a theme park like to people to view that. Like I read that on the news. I'm like, oh.
Hopefully they hire me on as one of the cast members, like in Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did, but they're not to make a permanent site. They just a temporary exhibition.
Definitely let us know the time and the day so that we can all go back and visit.
I think at least it take some time.
Great. Like I also have a question like from the ISVP, like from Joy Yang. If Joy is here, looks like not. Okay, Joy. Okay, you're gonna go for a question.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, but I also forget my question.
It's like a trend today.
I can definitely help you on that. Like Joy was asking like what factors shaped the golden years of Hong Kong movies? I think we're still in the golden year, to be honest. So
I think because you mean the heyday of Hong Kong movie is around 80s and 90s last century, because we were so with very flexible filmmaker there, many flexible and creative filmmakers there, and on the other hand, the other country or areas they didn't have any a movie, and they, for example, Korea is still very slow before 90s, and Thailand or Malaysia or Singapore, they didn't have their own movie almost, and that's why I stand our productions, but at the end of the day, I think we did a great job at that time.
definitely, I hear a lot like about how Hong Kong movies like inspire all other Asian movies. Like so, definitely, and also thank you to New York Asian Film Festival like for bringing all the Asian movies to New York as well. Any add-ons for that, like Philip?
Yeah. What was the question? I'm just kidding. Any add-ons for that? Not really, because I wasn't around during that time. But I mean, I was watching movies during that time. So I mean, the only thing I can say is hopefully bring back that trend.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Any other questions from the floor?
Mr. Chong,
Yeah.
and then as a veteran producer, can you tell me which one is your favorite movie that you have ever produced and why?
Always in front of us. Yeah, because I deeply involved in the creative processing, and even the original script is light departed. There's no swear-in ceremony in the very beginning, and I said it's not good enough, and then the scriptwriter Philip Chong did film in, and another thing is Andy Lau and Tong Leung in a hi-fi shop, and I forgot that actually, but in the interview, Philip Chong told people Andy Lau and Tong Leung only meet twice. Once and in the police station, and the other is on the roof. And our producer, Mr. Chong, said it wasn't good enough. At least 3 times they met, and then he created the scene. And then the song today,
I think we all remember that, like, if I remember that correctly, 高音甜中音準低音穩 Okay, almost.
Wow.
You don't remember that, Philip?
Stop asking me questions I can't answer.
Any other questions from the
That's
floor?
Yep, we have Addison over there. Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much. I have a question for Mr. Chong, I'm wondering, like, with the impact of the Hong Kong protests and the relationship between Hong Kong and China, does it interrupt? Does it make it more difficult to find financing from China? I see that this film has a lot of different financing sources, and like, how does maybe the political situation affect the financing Hong Kong films and also distributing Hong Kong films to China?
Yeah, the second question first. We have a lot of quite some procedure to import the film to China. First of all, if we need to cooperate with a China company at least, and then go through the so-called registration. We have to submit the script for approval by the Film Bureau first. It took some time, and then if they give some opinion, we have to correct it. And after making the film, we have to resubmit it for approval, and it takes some time as well. And then we have to fix the day to release. And for example, if you submit for registration from day one, and you did 3 to 6 months, and then you make a film, at least take you a year or more, and then you get the approval another half year, and that means almost 2 or even more years, and go through all the process. And regarding the financing in China, it depends on, always depends on the track record of the director and producer. And we got a very amazing team. All the award-winning people together, so it become a bit easier.
I guess like all the good things are worth the wait, right? Like I have been waiting for the WalledIn to come to New York like since May, because like I hear all the good things about it, like on social medias, like, and also from my friends like in Hong Kong. So I'm like, when can I see like a WalledIn on the silver screen? So finally, thank you again for New York Asian Film Festival for bringing that.
Thank you, Samuel.
Thank you. New York.
Any other questions like from the floor before we close? Yeah.
Thank you.
可唔可以講中文㗎？
可以啊，
最好啊！
哇！多謝兩位來臨啦。Philip，恭喜晒你！
多謝多謝，
高興見到你今日。
多謝多謝。
開始中意你就應該係鐵拳英雄。
哦，鐵拳英雄啊
，TVB drama。
係多謝多謝。
好犀利啦！你所有嘅打到場。
Righteous Fist。
貓仔咪？
嗰個就係城寨英雄，嗰個就係城寨英雄個貓仔。
就係黃狗啦 ，of course。
而家就係係咯。
嗰時 TVB 嗰時你好 hard 㗎已經，點解 TVB 冇攞你嘅？第一。
其實我不嬲都唔係 TVB 嘅，我之前都係簽黃晶嘅，咁就TVB 我係鋪頭 by project 嘅 by project， 咁佢哋即係有睇過，即係嗰時嘅監製係 Jazz 九龍城寨英雄 ，sorry 城寨英雄嗰個監製Jazz， 咁佢就可能睇過我以往啲電影啦，咁就電視台嗰時未用過我嘅，咁就覺得呢個係一個 good opportunity 就一齊合作，咁就拍咗部城寨英雄啦，咁跟住都幾受歡迎，咁就都好感謝佢啦。
嗰時好犀利啦！你所有嘅打鬥場面係從來冇睇過嘅 TVB。
係多謝。
And then of course 你而家咁紅唔會翻去㗎啦，相信。
我面紅啊！你講到我係啊。
因為你而家係審判啊嘛，就算你 X 都咁講你啦，咪？咁
話你啲問題好鬼難答啊！你因為
忠實 fans 嚟㗎喎，呢個真係係嘛？
你未來嘅大計將來我將會睇到你咩作品會嚟緊咧？
其實都有幾部電影嘅，咁嚟緊就 有部叫做重見天日啦，就會喺內地上啦。咁啊有一部武剃道啦，講舞獅嘅啦，咁啊同阿信一齊演嘅啦，同阿謙。咁啊，同埋自己就開咗個製作 workshop 啦，咁啊都有 produce 嘅啲電影啊，啱啱3年就殺青咗一部叫做《無名火》，咁啊就嚟緊都會有多啲咯，咁啊希望大家會留意 ，thank you。
I'm also looking forward all these movies that to be screened in New York, so we can all see it in New York.
You seem like the most excited, so you better watch all of them.
Yes. Any other questions from the floor?
Yeah, just want to ask another question because you mentioned you guys mentioned about the new wave of filmmakers and also actors. So I'm wondering, are there like any specific new directors or actors that you guys really want to work with in the future, maybe?
I did produce a film a year ago with four new directors together, and so they are a bit academic, and so I think it's not difficult to make to groom them because we have AI.
Oh, what's the question again? I'm just kidding. Any new filmmakers? I think the reason that I'm kind of producing these mid-budget movies is because I think I'm able to use more up-and-coming action actors, because actually there's a lot of people that have this skill set, and I want to give an opportunity for them to kind of show their skill sets on the screen, because I think there's the double-edged sword down or something. It's you need experience before someone hires you, but if no one hires you, how do you get experience, right? So I think like for my last movie, Moving Fall, which the one I produced, the name's gonna change probably, but English name is Without Remorse. So some few of the actors in there are relatively new. They used to be stuntmen that worked for me, but I thought they fit the role that they needed to play in the movie, and I gave them an opportunity, because I bet if it was a bigger budget movie with different considerations, maybe it would be difficult for me to hire these people. So yeah, I'm trying to do that.
Thank you both for bringing new people, new faces, new wave to Hong Kong film industry. Any other questions on the floor?
Come on.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you. I so enjoy this talk, and then I just want to ask something related to New York City, because I didn't get the ticket last night. It is very difficult and very hard for me to get the ticket because I know that it's also out. So I didn't watch the movie, the whole movie. I can only watch the trailer, and I'm still just the trailer. I'm still very amazed, just like what you just mentioned, the props and how it recreates the whole atmosphere, the whole image. That actually I was very little when the whole city got totally tore down. So I just wondering, do you have any other historical, maybe some collective memories that you also want to recreate, not just in Hong Kong? Maybe for Philip, I just quickly skimmed through the wiki. Seems like you are raised in you was born in Hong Kong, but you're raised in China.
Everything about me is in that wiki. So.
Yeah. so I'm just wondering, do you have any other historical places or collective memories that you would like to recreate when you do some filmmaking? And also the question is same for Mr. Zhang. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You go first. Okay, thank you, sir. Because I didn't have the answer. I think because I was raised in the States, I think they have a cross-cultural kind of influence on myself. So maybe projects that I want to kind of explore in the future maybe would be like a Chinatown story. Something that has to do with both cultures kind of intermixed, and maybe how maybe culture clashes, and because when you film culture clashes, so you kind of bring understanding to both cultures. So, and I feel like I've experienced in both, and I think could be a good springboard to do a martial arts movie too.
It's gonna be the Chinatown in Chicago, right?
Unless you guys pay me more.
How about you?
Yes, actually, I made this film. One of the reasons because I have lived in Kowloon Water City in my childhood. That's why I 2 decades ago want to make a film set in the Water City, and then I even came up with two drafts of the script, but it didn't work out, and then 10 years later, my fellow producer Angus Chen asked me to produce this film. So I'm so grateful, and I will think about your suggestion.
Great. I have a question there from Maggie.
It's a very silly question. Do you think Kung Fu Panda is a Kung Fu movie?
Yeah, it's Kung Fu in the title, so it's gotta be. It's gotta be. I mean, I think there's Kung Fu concepts in the movie. I think there's it's a bit westernized, maybe, for the Western audience to kind of understand those concepts. But there are Kung Fu concepts in that movie. I think they do a lot. They took a lot of influences from old Moaping Wuxia movies and old Manchuo movies, the Kung Fu movies. You see those concepts springed in there, and kind of in a format that maybe Western audiences can understand. Not silly at all. Good question.
Yeah, no questions are silly questions. I have one question.
I think my question has something to do with what we talk about him growing up as Chinese American here. The question is kind of related to what she asked, and you kind of answered part of the question, but I still want to ask anyway. So I'm just curious what you think of the increasing the visibility of Asian American in Hollywood films, because you yourself cast in Birth of the Dragon in an American movie. So I'm just curious what you think of it in the future. Will there be more Asian face in like Hollywood film, and what kind of story will you think will sell or will have a commercial success in American movies? Because definitely Kung Fu will sell, and in other Asian American movies, usually a family plot will resonate to a lot of people. So we have Joy Luck Club, and then everything all at once. So I'm just curious, what is there any other theme that you think will sell, or you think we should like develop more on these?
I think I'm at the camp where I don't think a race-specific role be something you want to have an Asian in, but other roles, I think the best person for the job is the most important. But also like because America is a mixed pot, right? So there's any race, any person can do any job. Like a doctor can be an Asian person, could be Hispanic, it could be anything, right? So I think those roles can be filled in with the best person for the job. If the best person for the job is Asian American, perfect, right? But there's culturally specific roles I think it should be played by culturally specific people. Like maybe Commonwealth City, I think a movie like that, then you would have to have Hong Kong actors because it's a very specific Hong Kong cultural influenced story. But other than that, I think the visibility is always great. I mean, having more opportunity to work for the Asian community is great. But I think best person for the role is my philosophy.
Great. Any other questions?
I do. So I think like recently all the Korean movies are so successful. The industry they're like K-drama. It's like everybody loves it. Hong Kong movie has such long history. Why are we what's the most difficult obstacle stopping we become the trend Hong Kong style? Why are we not making something that make everybody want likes our culture?
I can take that one. I feel like we all want Hong Kong movies, no?
No? I mean for more Western culture.
I think it's a trend. Right? I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, everyone was watching Kung Fu Hong Kong movies, right? And I think, as to kind of have an economic stability as a country, I think you want to export your popular culture too, right? And I think Korea has been doing that very, very well because there's government support. I think it just depends. It's a trend. And I think what we're doing now is the same as what we did before, trying to make good movies. I think when you make more good movies and more movies exported to other countries and people like them, then that industry gets stronger. It's like Thailand when they made Umbak. Okay, then they're in because one movie is successful. Then the whole industry becomes successful. So I think the main point is you want to make good movies like Twilight. Now everyone's watching it and it's bringing back the trend. I think that's the most important. I'm okay. How about that?
Okay, well I want to add something. Please. I think the Korean government did a very good job, and they adapt all the successful case, and they study comprehensively all the cultural things, and They did it in the late 80s. So our government also do something right now and recently, and we're supportive to the film industry, allocate hundreds and millions of dollars in the industry by organizing some schemes to grow new talents and sort of co-investment. And so I think in the near future we're getting better.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's not only the government's job or the filmmakers' jobs, right, but also all of our audience job, like to support the Hong Kong movies so that we can bring that trend like back to the world. So like that's like we are all going to watch more Hong Kong movies so that we can make more Hong Kong movies more popular. Like yeah, that's the cycle. Great. Any other questions on the floor? If not, then
come on.
Any other questions from you, Philip?
I don't have any questions. You guys like the movie?
Yes.
There you go. That's wonderful. Oh yes, August 9th in theaters. If you guys didn't get a chance to watch it last night, make sure you buy 2 tickets.
Great. So thank you all for joining us here tonight, and also thank you, Mr. Chong and Philip, again, like for joining us.